The morning sun filtered through the cracks of the blinds, scattering soft light across the cluttered kitchen where Rowan Hale stood motionless, a half-burnt piece of toast in his trembling hand. His mind was a whirlwind, but not because of breakfast gone wrong. It was because of a promise, a favor he'd agreed to without thinking, a blind date set up by his well-meaning friend. A single dad with no time, no energy, and no desire to re-enter the complicated world of romance. Rowan never imagined he'd find himself ironing a shirt before sunrise. He never imagined he'd feel this anxious tightening in his chest, wondering if he was doing the right thing for once instead of stumbling through life like a man trying to balance on one frayed rope. Yet here he was, pushed by the quiet hope that maybe, just maybe, life still had surprises left for him, and one of those surprises was waiting across a table he hadn't even reached yet. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and life's unexpected blessings, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Soul of Light to support more stories like this. Rowan glanced at the time and hurried to wake his 8-year-old son, Marek, whose unruly copper curls peeked out from beneath the blanket. Marek blinked up at him with sleepy brown eyes that reminded Rowan daily of the woman he had lost, his late wife Anora. She had been gone for 3 years, and though the ache had softened, it never truly faded. Every morning that ache was there with him. Every night, too. Raising Marek alone meant Rowan lived in a constant battle between exhaustion and fierce love. The challenges of juggling work at a small hardware shop, school drop-offs, emotional bruises, and silent nights had carved deep lines on his face. But they had also shaped him into someone who kept going, even when it hurt. His friend Tessa insisted that this blind date would be good for him. Rowan didn't believe that for a moment, but he respected Tessa enough to show up. So after dropping off Marek at school and promising they'd make pancakes together tonight, Rowan found himself standing outside a quiet daytime cafe in downtown Crestwood. From the outside, it was nothing extraordinary, just warm brick walls and gleaming windows. But Rowan felt like he was about to step into the unknown, like crossing through those doors was an act of courage he had never imagined performing. Inside, the cafe glowed with soft gold light and smelled of roasted coffee beans and fresh pastries. And there, seated near the window, was the woman he was apparently supposed to meet, except she didn't match any description Tessa had given him. Instead, she radiated a kind of quiet authority. Sleek ash, brown hair framed her poised face, and her suit was tailored so sharply it could cut through air. She didn't look nervous. She didn't look like a person dragged on a favor by a friend. She looked like someone in control of herself, her world, and anything she allowed close to her. Rowan almost turned around, assuming she was waiting for someone else, but her eyes lifted and softened the moment she spotted him. She stood, extending a hand. "You must be Rowan. I'm Selene Varin." Rowan froze internally. Selene Varin, the CEO of Varin Tech Solutions. He had seen her name dozens of times in local news, describing her as brilliant, ruthless in business, visionary, and impossible to reach. Why would someone like her be on a blind date? The answer came with her warm smile. "Tessa is my cousin," she said, "and she told me you might try to escape if you realized who you were meeting." Rowan almost choked on his breath as they sat. Everything about this felt surreal. He had expected an awkward conversation, maybe a polite goodbye after coffee, but certainly not this sitting across from a woman whose presence demanded attention not through arrogance, but through a quiet sense of knowing herself deeply. As they talked, Rowan found his nerves loosening. Selene was sharp yet gentle, confident yet curious. She asked about Marek not with pity, but genuine interest. Rowan spoke of fatherhood, the exhaustion, the laughter, the grief. He rarely talked about Anora, but Selene's steady gaze gave him the strange comfort that she could hold the weight of his honesty. In return, she spoke of her own challenges, losing herself in work after a bitter separation from someone who never understood her ambitions. She didn't pity people, nor did she expect perfection. She valued resilience, responsibility, heart. Rowan noticed something else, the way she watched people around them. She saw more than she said, and for the first time in years, Rowan felt seen in return. Their coffee turned into lunch, lunch into reluctant goodbyes, and the moment Rowan stepped outside into the warm mid-daylight, everything felt different. He hadn't expected to enjoy himself. He hadn't expected to feel a flicker of something he thought would never return. Yet there it was, unexpected, quiet, real. Over the next weeks, their paths intertwined more and more. Selene visited the hardware shop not to flaunt her success, but to see Rowan in his element. She joined him and Marek at the park on weekends, always careful not to intrude. She asked Marek about school, listened intently, and never forced affection. Marek, cautious and observant just like Rowan, warmed up slowly, but he liked her. That mattered more to Rowan than anything else. Still, challenges lingered beneath the surface. Rowan battled with doubts. Was he enough? Would someone like her grow tired of someone like him, a man living paycheck to paycheck, still figuring out life? Selene faced whispers from her corporate circle. Why would a CEO spend time with a single father from a small shop? Why choose a life that didn't match her status? But Selene had built an empire by ignoring noise. She wasn't afraid of choosing something real. The turning point came one bright Saturday afternoon when Rowan received a sudden call from Marek's school. An accident, a fall from a climbing structure. Nothing life-threatening, but there was panic in the nurse's voice. Rowan rushed from work, heart pounding, breath tearing, memories of hospitals and grief clawing at him. When he arrived, Selene was already there, her suit jacket abandoned on a chair, her hand resting gently on Marek's shoulder as he sniffed back tears. She was closest. The nurse said, "We called you both." Rowan stared at Selene, chest tight. Something inside him broke, not in pain but in realization. She wasn't doing this for appearances. She wasn't trying to slip into their lives casually. She was already there, rooted without asking for recognition. She had chosen them. That evening, as sunlight poured across their small kitchen, Rowan made pancakes like he had promised. Marek sat at the table with a bandaged elbow, proudly showing Selene his drawings. She listened as if the sketches were masterpieces. Rowan watched them from the stove, the spatula trembling in his hand, overwhelmed by gratitude he didn't know how to express. The weeks that followed were soft, steady, and healing. Selene didn't try to replace Anora. Instead, she honored the love that had existed before her. She encouraged Rowan to grieve deeply, to breathe fully, to hope again. She helped him fix the squeaky door in Marek's room. She brought books she loved and left them on the kitchen counter with little notes inside. She was careful, respectful, patient. She understood loss because she had lived her own version of it. Yet she also brought something Rowan hadn't felt in years, light. One bright afternoon, beneath a wide sky brushed with pale clouds, Rowan realized that life had shifted, not in an explosive moment, but in the accumulation of small ones. Selene's laughter mingling with Marek's, their shoes by the door, the smell of her citrus perfume lingering gently on the air after she left. Love had crept in quietly, and so, months after that first unexpected date, Rowan stood outside the same cafe where everything began. The sunlight was warm, the breeze alive, and this time he wasn't nervous. Selene arrived with a smile that softened everything inside him. They sat, just like before, but the world felt different. When she reached across the table and took his hand, Rowan knew he wasn't just opening his heart. He was opening his future. He spoke softly, voice steady. He told her that she had changed the way he saw life, that she had given him courage, that she had made room for healing, hope, and love. Selene's eyes glistened, her fingers tightening around his. In that moment, their lives intertwined not by accident or favor, but by choice. They had chosen each other, and that was the most powerful part of all. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Soul of Light, so more people can experience stories that bring warmth, hope, and connection into their day. Before you go, please leave a special comment. Light finds us when we least expect it.